So Donk is pretty much the pride of the CIS scene right now. He's the region's biggest star, and yeah, the youngest major champion ever at just 17. But imagine how heartbreaking it would have been if Danya had been banned from Valve tournaments all because of some tiny mistake he made as a kid. Let's say Valve somehow found his old account, the one he lent to a friend so they could play CS together, and imagine that friend went and installed cheats, got VAC banned, and boom, that ban ends up tied to Donk, just because the account was originally his. Yeah, not exactly ideal. Watching Donk get sidelined and unable to show off his talent over something like that would seriously suck. And as you probably guessed by now, this isn't just some made-up scenario. We're talking about a real story. A few years back, Finnish player Jamppi was seen as one of the brightest rising stars in esports, but he couldn't play in any major tournaments because of an old VAC ban tied to his account. Like pretty much everyone accused of cheating, he denied it, said he had actually sold that account to a friend. But unlike most players in that situation, Jamppi didn't just rant about it online. He actually took things to the next level and became the first player ever to sue Valve. Don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button because you're watching CYBERSHOKE. And today, we're diving into the wild story of a cheater who brought a whole legal team to court, all to try and clear his name. The biggest update in CYBERSHOKE's history. Introducing custom matches. Create your own lobbies, invite friends, and use our mods. Randomize models, bunny hop, parachutes, and more. The best part is that it's totally free for all players of the platform. Go to CYBERSHOKE and try it out yourself. You can find the link in the description below. When it came to pure growth, Donk might have stolen the spotlight, but Jamppi was never far behind. By 15 years old, he was already a local legend, even if his teammates were kind of holding him back. Everyone could see that big things were on the horizon for him. Even while playing on a pretty weak team that clearly limited what he could do, Jamppi still managed to pull off a 1.23 rating across 90 LAN maps. And yeah, the guy was constantly dropping ridiculous highlights like this.
Kuinka pitkää peliä. Sieltä ensimmäinen ja sieltä se toinen. Kyllä se kärsivällisyys palkitaan. Ja kolmas, kun Jamppi avaa koko saitin. Ai sentään, kun oli varmaan aika moraalille vaikea peli siitä. Ja sieltä on jo servulta lähtenyt pelaaja. Jamppi lopettaa puukolla.
Back in 2019, Jamppi was featured on HLTV's One for the Future series, their spotlight on up-and-coming players that they truly believe in. And just to be clear, making it into that series is a big deal. HLTV doesn't do those often, and it's not easy to get noticed like that. The full article, all about 18-year-old Jamppi, focused on his raw skill, the kind of talent that had even the top analysts raising their eyebrows. One HLTV writer even said Elias had already outgrown the Finnish scene, and that if he wanted to keep improving, he had to sign with a bigger European team. By the end of 2019, Jamppi was putting up some of the best stats in the world, just 7 points behind Simple. Even Crims from Fnatic named Elias as his bold prediction, saying he was destined to break into the HLTV top 20 the following year. That's when the offers really started rolling in. The biggest one came from OG, a rising Tier 2 team at the time, led by Alexi B and backed by two-time world champion NBK. Naturally, Elias was all in. He agreed to join OG, and the deal was almost sealed, but then a problem came up. As you might have guessed, the OG deal fell through because it turned out Jamppi had a VAC ban tied to an old account for cheating. According to Elias, this all went down way back in 2014. He was hanging out with some friends, with all of them wanting to play CSGO together in the same apartment, but none of them had accounts. The game cost 15 euros, so Jamppi offered to buy it using his parents' bank card. He made a new account, paid for the game, and shared the login with one of his friends. A little later, that same friend decided to mess around with cheats and ended up getting VAC banned. But because the account was technically registered under Jamppi's name, the ban stuck to him. And just like that, his entire pro career was suddenly in jeopardy. At the time, respected insider Nell even said that Jamppi might end up retiring. He'd already left his old Tier 3 team, and after the OG deal fell apart, he went inactive for about 4 months. Most people figured he was just at home, totally depressed, and had just checked out from the whole scene. But in reality, Elias was working on something much bigger. He was gearing up for the boldest move of his career. He was getting ready to sue Valve. The idea to fight the VAC ban in court actually came from Elias's dad. He couldn't stand the thought of his son's career ending over something so ridiculous like this. So he put together a short write-up explaining what had happened and started reaching out to some top Finnish lawyers, ones who usually worked with big names in traditional sports. A few of them actually believed in Jamppi's story and decided to take the case, and so the legal team that would go on to sue Valve was formed. At first, the plan was to focus on the fact that Elias hadn't actually used that banned account in years. The idea was that if they could prove it was a shared account, it might be enough to get the VAC ban removed. But there was a problem. If they went down that road, the case would have to be handled in the US, since that's where Valve is based. And that came with two major risks. One, lawsuits in the US are seriously expensive. And two, American courts tend to side with private companies, so the chances of actually winning the case were pretty slim. So after thinking it through, Jamppi's legal team decided to take the case to a European court, where they felt they'd get a fairer shot. But how do you even pull that off when Valve is an American company? Well, it wasn't easy, but the Finnish team found a clever workaround. They completely reframed the case. Instead of focusing only on Jamppi's ban, they shifted the argument toward a bigger issue: consumer rights. The lawyers argued that the policy of lifetime bans was unfair, and they asked the European court to step in and push Valve to change it. Now, in Valve's defense, their terms were pretty clear. The lawsuit itself was just 8 pages, but it pointed out that when you buy CS on Steam, you're agreeing to a digital contract, and that contract specifically says you can get VAC banned for cheating. But here's where it gets interesting. Under European consumer protection laws, a court can actually modify or remove parts of a contract if they're seen as excessively harsh. That's the angle Jamppi's legal team went with. They argued that he was only 14 at the time, made a harmless mistake, and now his whole future was falling apart because of it. In their view, the VAC ban clause was just too extreme, and they wanted the court to step in and adjust it. Since the lawsuit was public, it quickly grabbed the attention of the entire esports community. Everyone was watching to see if Jamppi could actually clear his name in court. But then, surprise, it turned out that no official lawsuit had been filed. So what happened? Well, at that point, Jamppi was still hoping to sort things out peacefully. He tried reaching out to Valve directly, hoping they'd at least hear him out and have a real conversation about the situation. Elias even reached out to the CSGO Players Union, the CSPPA, but they basically shrugged it off. Legal battles weren't in their wheelhouse. As for Valve, they replied just once, with a short message saying the ban would not be lifted. That's all. Here's what Jamppi said at the time. "Our idea was for Valve to wake up and listen to us. Actual court was never our goal. We really didn't want to take things that far. All we wanted was to reach out and talk. But sadly, Valve never responded to any of his follow-up letters, and so with no other choice, his family moved forward. They brought in the Finnish lawyers, and the lawsuit was officially filed." Even with the VAC ban hanging over him, Jamppi still got picked up by a solid team, ENCE. At the time, 6-man rosters were the new trend, so the plan was to swap him in for X7 during tournaments where Elias wasn't restricted from playing. Plus, ENCE's management genuinely believed he had a shot at winning the court case. Now, even though ENCE already had an opper, Alu, Jamppi still got to wield the big green from time to time. And when he did, he made it count. In one of their very first matches together, they actually took down Navi, and Jamppi was named MVP of the game. From that point on, his life was basically split into 2 big missions: fighting the legal battle with Valve and proving himself on the server with ENCE. Here's what Jamppi's lawyer had to say. "This is an exceptional case, in the sense that a minor received a lifetime ban without any hearing for the first alleged violation unrelated to competitive gaming. Overall, the community really rallied behind him. Sure, not everyone bought the story about sharing the account with a friend, but most people agreed that one dumb mistake as a kid shouldn't end someone's entire career. And honestly, it was hard to watch. Jamppi was killing it in all sorts of events, but when it came to the one that mattered most, the major, he wasn't even allowed to show up. Jamppi's case might have stayed in limbo forever, if not for something that almost never happens. Believe it or not, Valve actually got back to him with an official response. But it wasn't exactly the answer he was hoping for. They explained that there are actually 2 different companies under the Valve name, First, there's the Valve Corporation, the one that handles Counter-Strike and all the game-related stuff. Then there's Valve GmbH, which focuses more on hardware, like the Steam Deck. In their response, Valve pointed out that Jamppi and his brilliant lawyers sued the wrong company. Yep, turns out they filed a lawsuit against Valve GmbH, the hardware branch, which has nothing to do with Counter-Strike. So the case got tossed out, and Jamppi had to start all over again, this time against the actual Valve Corporation. He also asked if they could lift the ban while the case was ongoing, but yeah, that got shut down immediately, and Valve actually doubled down, saying his VAC ban didn't stop him from playing with ENCE anyway, kinda hinting that maybe he wasn't suffering as much as he claimed in court. By the end of the year, the court officially ruled that it didn't have any jurisdiction over the case, which meant it couldn't do anything to help Jamppi. Around that time, journalist Richard Lewis reported that Valve had reached out to him directly. According to them, when the VAC ban was issued, the account was still under Elias's control, so as far as they were concerned, the ban would stay. And that was it. Game over. The end. At the start of 2021, Jamppi was benched by ENCE, and not long after, he made the jump to Valorant. Here's what insider Nell had to say about it. "It's a shame to watch such a talent go to the game's competitor just because Valve is a complete laughingstock when it comes to their esports policies. I hope Jamppi achieves success in Valorant." But just 3 months later, Valve finally updated its rules on VAC bans. Under the new policy, players with a ban could now compete in majors again, as long as 5 years had passed since the ban was issued, and they hadn't cheated in a Valve-sponsored tournament. Most people saw this as Valve finally meeting halfway, especially for those who got banned as kids. Jamppi was thrilled to see his ban lifted, and for a moment, he even considered coming back to CS. But in the end, he stuck with Valorant, where he ended up teaming up with the legendary Scream and even winning a major tournament.
Away from him, so much utility, so little time, he can't do it! Team Liquid, doubted from lock-in, questioned every step of the way, but they have risen to the occasion here, Mike.
Looking back now, it's pretty clear. If Valve had eased up on the VAC rules just a little earlier, CS might not have lost a talent like Jamppi. Here at CYBERSHOKE, we absolutely condemn cheating in all forms, but we also believe that one mistake made as a kid shouldn't be enough to end a promising career. But what about you? Do you believe Jamppi's story? Let's talk about it down in the comments. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the best esports stories. Catch you in the next one.